Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Conscious Environment Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in again. And because it is still Black History Month, we're doing Say What? History facts every single week. Facts, stories, something like that. Last week we did kind of a resistance theme. This week we are doing scientists or, anybody who's worked in the soft sciences and the hard sciences. I just want to highlight some of our geniuses. So I hope you guys really enjoy these stories. If this is something that you liked, I know these episodes are a little bit shorter. If this is something you like, please do let me know, because I would love to do these maybe once or twice a month. I have a ton of stories. I do every single day for the month of February, and I would love to just kind of keep reading them out to you. But please do go over to TikTok. That's IDEFF Overthink, IDEF Overthink, and check out the video versions of these episodes. But these are going to be a little bit longer, a little bit more production. Hope you guys enjoy them. Thank you. This first story is about Dr. Rebecca Davis Lee Crumpler. Dr. Rebecca Davis Lee Crumpler was the first Black woman doctor in the United States. Dr. Crumpler was born free on February 8, 1831. After moving to Charlestown, Massachusetts in 1852, Rebecca Crumpler worked as a nurse for 8 years. She enrolled in the New England Female Medical College in 1860. 4 years later, she was Dr. Rebecca Crumpler. At the time, there were no Black female doctors among the 54,000 physicians in the United States, and only 300 white women were doctors. After the Civil War, she moved to Richmond, Virginia to work with the Freedmen's Bureau in 1865. In 1883, she published a medical guidebook, the Book of Medical Disclosures. The book primarily gave advice for women on the health and care of their families. In 1989, she was honored for her groundbreaking achievements with the founding of the Rebecca Lee Society, an organization which supports and promotes Black women physicians. In 2021, the city of Boston declared February 8th Dr. Rebecca Lee Crumpler Day, and Congress declared the day National Black Women's Physician Day in her honor. This next story is about the first man to stand on the North Pole, a Black man named Matthew Henson. In 1909, a team of 6 men on dog sleds made their way to a single point at the center of a vast Arctic wilderness. It was a block of ice 413 nautical miles off the coast of Greenland, believed to be the North Pole. April 6, 1909, there would be an American flag planted there. The first person to stand at the top of the world was a Black man named Matthew Henson. So who was Matthew Henson? Matthew Henson was hired by explorer Robert Edwin Peary as his valet for expeditions. For more than 2 decades, they explored the Arctic. Henson proved an invaluable team member, building sledges and training others on their handling. In 1908, Henson and Peary set out on their last expedition to the North Pole. It took over a year, and the team had many men turn back. They started with 24 men, 19 sledges, and 133 dogs. They landed at the North Pole on April 6th with just Henson and Peary, 4 Inuit, and 40 dogs. In 1944, he and the other members of the expedition were awarded the Congressional Medal. This next story, let's talk about Mamie Phipps Clark and Kenneth Clark and the doll test. Mamie Phipps Clark and Kenneth Clark were social psychologists who did research on self-identification in Black children. They both obtained their bachelor's and master's degrees from Howard University. The Clarks were the first Blacks to obtain their doctoral degrees in psychology from Columbia University. But their most famous work was the dolls test. They assessed the racial preferences of 3 to 7-year-old children in segregated schools. Using 4 identical dolls that only differed in their hair and skin color, they asked the children questions about the dolls. The Clarks found that both Black and white children preferred to play with the white dolls, and were more likely to describe the white dolls as the nice dolls and the Black dolls as the bad dolls. The Clarks were influential to the civil rights movement as expert witnesses in several school desegregation cases, including Brown v. Board of Education in 1954. The doll test has been repeated over and over and still sees the same results. For this next story, let's talk about the time that NASA needed 3 black women as human computers to get us to the moon. During World War II, NASA began recruiting black women with college degrees to work as computers. Segregation policies required that these women work in a separate section. They were called the West Area Computers. Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson were 3 of these women. In 1958, Jackson became NASA's first black female engineer. She analyzed data at the Theoretical Aerodynamics branch of the Subsonic Transonic Aerodynamics Division at Langley. Johnson's work included calculating trajectories, launch windows, and emergency return paths for the Project Mercury. Her calculations were essential to the space shuttle program. She even worked on plans for a mission to Mars. 28 years as a mathematician and programmer at Langley, Vaughan specialized in calculations for flight paths and Scout project and computer programming. These women were essential to the space race and helped the United States land on the moon. Without their contributions, we don't know we would have ever been there. On November 6, 2020, satellites named after these 3 black women were launched into space, keeping their legacy among the stars. Everybody loves to cool off in the summertime, and I bet you've used one of these before. But did you know that the inventor of the Super Soaker was a black man? And he did it on accident. Dr. Lonnie Johnson is an inventor and engineer, but he's best known for inventing the top of every 90s kid's birthday wish list. A former Air Force and NASA engineer, he's always been an inventor, earning him the nickname of the Professor in high school. In 1982, Johnson completed a prototype of an environmentally friendly heat pump that used water. While testing, he aimed the nozzle into his bathtub, pulled the lever, and the Power Drencher was born. Wait, not the Super Soaker? Fast forward a few years, and he was having trouble selling his invention. Some new marketing and a name change later, the Super Soaker became the hit that it is today. It topped $200 million in sales in 1991 and went on to annually rank among the world's top 20 best-selling toys. In 2011, he was inducted into the State of Alabama Engineering Hall of Fame. He's 72 years old. After COVID in 2020, I think we all understand how bad a pandemic can be. And in the 1700s, smallpox was ravishing the Boston area, but there was one man, an enslaved man, who taught them how to save themselves. In the early 1700s, smallpox had made it to Boston. The virus was extremely contagious, and up to 30% of cases it killed. The smallpox epidemic of 1721 was different than anything that had ever come before it. That kind of sounds familiar. An enslaved man known only as Onesimus suggested a potential way to keep people from getting sick. Intrigued by his idea and willing to try anything, a doctor and a minister undertook an experiment to try to stop the smallpox. Onesimus's technique was to rub pus from an infected person into an open wound on the arm of a non-infected person. This was a technique used in sub-Saharan Africa for generations. The symptoms would be milder but still confer immunity once the infection material was introduced into the body. This would be known as inoculation. Onesimus' technique would go to bring the death toll from 1 in 7 to 1 in 40 in Boston. This would also be the precursor to the vaccine that would come in 1796. It's unclear if Onesimus lived to see his African roots save American lives. His innovation would lead directly to the World Health Organization declaring smallpox eradicated in 1980. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed recording it for you. And again, this is Whaaat History. But if you guys want to check out the video versions of this, you can definitely head over to my TikTok channel where I put them up every single day. And that's iDefOverthink. There's going to be some of the videos are the same. If you check out the playlist, that's season 1, you'll hear some of these again and see video versions of them. Some of them are going to be different because this is season 2 and we are doing different stories. So that's iDefOverthink, IDEFF Overthink, and that's over there on TikTok. If you want to support the show monetarily, you absolutely can. There are Venmo and Cashapp links below, but if you want to get a little bang for your buck, we also have our bonfire link, and it is live. That's where you can go and get some merch. We have just a couple of hoodies, some shirts up there right now, but we're definitely going to move on to like mugs and all kinds of different stuff. Definitely some more shirt designs that I have brewing up, but go and check them out. We have the I Am Black History design up right now, so please go grab that while it's up for February for Black History Month. And again, as a last thing, remember, I love you, and go drink water. Stay hydrated. Go drink water right now. Go right now. I'll see you next week.